Good morning, and what a lovely morning it is. It's going to be a fantastic day by the looks of things. So behind me we've got two cherry trees that today we're going to do some pruning on. We're going to do a crown reduction on both, but more so on the left tree behind me, because a lot of the growth is thinner, so it means that we're able to do more of a crown reduction all around, so height and spread. It's a smaller tree as well, and then we're gonna thin it out a little bit, removal of like rubbing, crossing branches, any dead wood, that kind of thing. And then the slightly larger tree over to the right, I'm gonna do a bit of a crown reduction, but just due to like the thickness of the branches, we're gonna be able to not be able to do as severe crown reduction, or severe is the wrong word, but not as an extensive crown reduction, just because that would mean making larger cuts, which isn't ideal. So lighter crown reduction on this tree, but removal of some of the branches over the garage roof, and removal of a lot that's got quite a bit more dead wood in it, and then just a bit of a thin out and removal of rubbing and crossing branches again. So the reason why we're doing this is, we work in an urban environment. Ideally, trees wouldn't get pruned in this manner, like crown reduction, but in an urban environment you have to manage trees for their location, and so if we can keep them healthy and keep them to a size, squirrel if we can keep them to a size where they're manageable and we're not completely hacking them back and needing to do things like pollard them, if we can keep them looking good and maintain them on like a 2-3 yearly cycle, then it keeps them healthy, but also prevents them from getting these enormous trees in small backyards like this. So it's important to realise the management we need to do in the urban environment. Okay, so I'm at the point where I'm going to start reducing this tree. Now, as you can see, these stems are fairly thin, so there's plenty of options, plenty of secondary branches to prune back to. So the key here is basic principles of pruning is the rule of thirds. So you want to try and prune back to nothing that's any thinner than a third of the size of the main stem. So you see here, we've got a lateral branch, and then we've got the main stem, and that's probably about 1/3 the size of the main stem. And there's plenty of those points to prune back to. So we're going to prune back and leave this as like the new kind of leader. Well, not leader in a broadleaf cherry tree that's kind of wide like this, but you understand what I mean. And yeah, it's just the same throughout around the whole top. So when doing like a crown reduction, I always start at the very top, kind of where my time point is going to be, and take the tree down to a point that makes sense. You get a good pruning point, but also look around before you make that point and see if there's everywhere else you can prune back to a similar height. And then once you've got your highest point, you can then slowly start to bring the other branches further down as you move down the canopy, so you can keep that nice tree shape. Okay, so that's the first one pruned. So you can see, tree behind me, I've reduced the canopy, thinned it out a little bit. So now onto the bigger one next to it. So this is the second cherry tree, just got to the top, tied in. So like I say, this is going to be I won't be able to reduce this tree as hard just because, you know, the thickness of the trunks and the stems and the branches near the top are still quite big. So probably gonna start by taking out this one and but leaving this branch, and then kind of just pruning all these top branches down to try and bring the height down a bit, and then I'll gradually kind of bring everything in line with that from there. So yeah, we're going to start here. So I've done the pruning on the top and I've done the pruning on the west side. Now I'm kind of working my way around and I've got this branch. So just to explain my thought process. So you can see through there, hopefully you can, you can see a pruning cut there. So I kind of want to blend it down, and I'm about level where I've pruned kind of the next major branch over. So I'm kind of thinking, you know, I'll take out this branch, maybe prune some of this back, and then if we go around and turn around here, like this is quite a nice. There's like smaller branches coming through the canopy that's going to create this kind of natural look, because we're not going to prune back those branches that aren't as long in the first place, those are the ones that are going to take over being, you know, the outer canopy. I'll probably prune back this branch a little bit, but not too much, and then I'll prune those somewhere down where those kind of larger lateral branches are coming out. And that's basically the process. I kind of just work around systematically, following the previous cuts that I've done, and just working around in a circle, and that's the process really. It takes a bit of time and experience in doing it over and over and over again to actually kind of get your system dialed in. It's probably the toughest part of pruning as far as climbing goes, because it takes climbing around the entire canopy, getting out onto the ends, and then also kind of keeping that natural shape while selecting branches that are good to be pruned back to. So there's a lot, you know, there's a lot to think about. It's not just pruning a branch back to the main stem, which is, you know, that there's just one option. Here there's like various different lateral branches to prune back to, and it's selecting the right one to keep the right shape, that kind of thing. Okay, so I finally finished. Now pruning both trees, crown reduction. Definitely a bit of a thin, well, not so much a thin, but just removing all the dead wood out the centre there. Pruned off some lower branches over the top of the garage. And you can see they still look good, natural. In some points I had to take out a little more than I was hoping, just to kind of keep it nice and balanced and everything, but as you can see on the whole they look pretty natural. We'll just go out here and take a look from outside, and that's what they look like from this side.